To the God, this is Maine. About to do a quick little video. Yo, what's popping out there, man? What's going on out there? The mother of Trisniks. Popping out there in the May Trisney. Come on, son. Y'all already know what time it is, man. 10-year conversation, B. 10 years, B. Yo, man, what we're going to be talking about today, man? Y'all already know what it is, man. We're going to be talking about this pineal gland, bro. Man. Pineal gland, bro. Pineal gland, son. Yo, there's other glands that exist. But we ain't gonna get into that, son. Let's stick to the pineal gland, son. Now, most people, we've been trained to see the pineal gland as all-seeing eye. An eye that represents the crown chakra, as the spiritual folk talk about. Eye of enlightenment. Eye that lets you see both worlds. You know what I mean? Various other explanations and descriptions for the pineal gland, son. But the pineal gland actually represents a sense. It is a sense that represents reality, son. I know we've been trained. Pardon me, I'm eating. I know we've been trained to see reality as, in the Matrix. When you're looking at cartoons, they be like, that's make-believe, that's not reality, and they compare that to the physical world. Basically, the physical world is a template for reality, son. That's how we have been trained to see reality. As the physical world, son. So, when I say that, the pineal gland, it is a sense. And it's a sense that represents reality. It's linked to reality. Most people, when they hear that, it ain't gonna click. But the only reality that it is, the reality that I'm talking about, is you, the soul. You, the soul, is reality. You know what I mean? And when you activate, quote unquote, activate the pineal gland, it's not so much you are seeing things through the eye of the pineal gland, because that's how everybody want to break it down, or people be describing it. It's not so much that you seeing things through the pineal gland. It's that you, the soul of being. I'm speaking to the carbonated beings. You, the soul of being that's fused to the carbonated vessel that they call a black man or a black woman. You, the soul, now are viewing. You are looking at whatever it is that you're looking at, son. And when you, the soul, look at things in its purest form, meaning that when you, the soul, are vibrating on that etheric reality vibration. Whenever you look at anything, you're going to see it for what it is. You know what I mean? Because you represent reality. So you're going to immediately know, that you're looking at an illusion. And you're going to be able to analyze and break it down particle by particle, son. Because you're looking at it. You're not looking at it through the eyes in your skull. You're not looking at it through the brain. You're not looking at it based upon how people been programmed, how they program these various types of perceptions in you. And whenever you're looking at something or analyzing something or quote unquote thinking about something, all you're doing is flipping through these different channels of perception on how they pre-programmed you to see things. It ain't dealing with none of that, son. It's dealing with what it is. The hell with what they say it is dealing with what it is. And you, the soul, since you, the soul of being, all reality, no matter where you at, you always going to be able to see things for what it is. And that's a form of cracking the code. And you crack it naturally. You crack it naturally, son. You know what I'm saying? So it is linked to reality because it's linked to you, the soul. Which is why our ascendants, who they want to tell us is our ancestors, calls it the all-seeing eye. All-seeing eye. But y'all know how I broke, for people who are familiar with the channel, know I already broke this down before, but for the newbies, seeing, like I stated before, seeing doesn't have anything to do with capturing images. It has to do with you being able to identify the obvious, son. Which is why I refer to it as the all-knowing eye. The eye that knows all. You know what I mean? In any dimension, son. It don't matter what dimension you're in. Because you are reality and you supersede any dimension, son. Which is why I say a soul could go in any dimension. And a soul could leave any dimension. Because a soul is not bound to any dimension unless that soul is vibrating on a frequency that is synonymous with that dimension that is in. It's vibrating low. It's in a lock cold vibration. And then it becomes trapped in that realm. Based upon not knowing how to vibrate out of it. Because it got so stuck in the frequency. That is now it became a slave to the hertz. You know what I'm saying? In a situation like that, now the soul becomes trapped. Now you become a lost soul. You just trapped now. But for the soul that's vibrating on that etheric frequency, you could go in any realm. See it for what it is. And be up out of there anytime you want. You know what I mean? And the pineal gland, it is a gland that gives you the ability to see through the BS. See, when people lie, when people are always lying, like you always gonna know when somebody's lying. You ain't got to speak on it. You know what I mean? You always gonna know, not believe. You always gonna know when somebody's lying, son. You're always gonna know when something is off. You just know because all of these illusions They all operate on a vibration that was forged into existence. It's all a quasi vibration, son. You know what I mean? You being that being that is reality. You know what I mean? You always gonna know when something is off. Always. Because you are the template of reality. Reality cannot be duplicated. It cannot be copied. People try to copy reality, but all they're doing is mimicking past patterns or past vibrations. That's all they're doing. One of the main reasons why they would never be able to clone or cloak reality is because reality is unpredictable, son. They don't know how someone is going to move. They don't know what this person is going to do because that person or individual or soul being is not part of the algorithm. The algorithm runs on a sequence. You know what I mean? The algorithm needs to run all these different sequential sequences. You know what I mean? All these different variations. But what if, 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 but what if. That's all it's doing. All these different calculations of what if. Because it's basically guessing. Because it doesn't know. It believes. The algorithm believes. It doesn't know. You know what I mean? You being the being, whatever you do, you don't even have to think. Just like I always say, be real. Just be real. Man, I be saying that, man, like back in the days when I used to be telling my homie that. My man passed away, son. You know, shout out to my man Frost, bro. You know what I mean? It's something I used to say to a lot of people, son. But I always used to say it to him a lot. I used to be like, yo, son, you gotta be real. I just look at you like, what you mean be real? Like, what you trying to say? I'm a fake ass nigga? Nah, son. Ain't got nothing to do with that. Normally, when you say be real to somebody, they immediately run the program of a real ass nigga. Which is why I say a real nigga is a fake god, son. There's no such thing as a real nigga. Realistically speaking, in the Matrix, you could pretend to be real. But when it comes to reality, a real nigga is a fake god. The so-called real niggas, they follow a specific type of algorithm in the Matrix that dictates to them of what a real nigga should be. So you're predictable. You're predictable. God is not predictable. You know what I mean? Which is why when we got all these scientists out here exploring all the different types of creations that the gods created, whether it be particles, minerals, structures in the form of mountains, and all of these different types of like trees, these big ass trees, big as hell, son. Big ass trees, bruh. Yo, trees big as hell, son. You know what I mean? Trees big like cities. You be studying trees, even studying a motherfucking ant. They get blown away, son. They like, yo, how could somebody just think about all these different variations, man? All of these small moving parts that all work in unity. And then you create something so freaking big, gigantic. It's like, yo, bro, what the freak? Then you create this planet, and it's like the scientists, they get blown away because And the scientists would never be able to create anything like that, son. What they would do is cloak. You know what I mean? They would copy. But they don't truly know how to create. And I'm speaking the language when I say create, because you already know I broke down creation is cloning. When you create, that's cloning technology, son. Creation, that word create, switch that word create with cloning, son. It'll make more sense. You know what I mean? Because whenever they create, they back engineering cloning. When I say that they can't create, I mean that they would never be able to do anything new. All of these creations that the gods created, these people never seen nothing like this before. It's new to them. If they were to try to create anything, it would be a mockery of what they came across. It could be a combination of how an ant is built, a tree is built, particles behave. You know what I'm saying? They basically taking bits and pieces of what they learned on how the gods create things, and then they create something. But the gods didn't take bits and pieces of things of what they learned from someone else. You know what I'm saying? That came from reality. That came from us, the solar beings. You know what I'm saying? They need to trace. We don't need to trace a damn thing. You know what I mean? We came up with the masterpiece that we drew on the canvas, and here they come with some see-through paper tracing the shit. Now they trying to pass the trace off to people who never saw the original, and they trying to front like they are the creators, meaning that they the first ones who did this shit. Man, get the freak out of here, man. These motherfuckers want to get props for tracing. What? You know what I'm saying? They want to get props for tracing. How? No. Don't need no prop for tracing. You get props for creating. Speaking the language when I'm saying create. For creating, B. But then again, that's how the humans, that's what the humans supposed to do. They're supposed to copy. Because in their whole makeup, their entire makeup is Coptic, son. They are a copy. They're a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, son. There is no original copy for a human. They all copies. They are all different variations of clones. Which is why it's so deeply rooted in their nature to copy. Everything they do is something that they copy. You know what I mean? They copy, son. And they steal and try to hide the original and try to make it seem like they the original. I mean, look what they did with so-called Black History. You know what I mean? That voodoo they doing. Taking the face off of the pharaohs and queens and putting their heads and faces on it. You know what I mean? Doing voodoo. Copying. Because they don't want, I'm not even gonna say the masses. They don't want the God race to realize what it really is. This shit ain't got nothing to do with the masses, bro. Nothing, son. This shit got to do with the God race coming online, realizing what's really going on out here in the Matrix, bro. And all these motherfuckers out here is clones. They not real, bro. Which is why it's so easy for them to worship fake gods. They got fake friends, fake relationships. They bond with each other based on illusional means, which is not even a real bond. Their bond is about as strong as a Velcro strap. You know what I mean? Their bond is about as strong as a freaking Velcro strap, bro. Shit weak as hell. You know what I mean? It ain't real, son. They pretending. You know what I'm saying? They have synthetic parts that make up the entire human vessel. All of the parts that make up the human vessel is synthetic. From the bones to the veins to the DNA, the skin, the fur, what they call hair, the fur. Fur is synthetic hair. Melanin is synthetic carbon. You know what I mean? Everything about them is synthetic. They got synthetic heart, synthetic kidneys, synthetic lungs, a synthetic pineal gland. You know what I'm saying? Synthetic pituitary gland, a synthetic hippocampus gland. Everything about them is synthetic, because they clones. You know what I mean? It is what it is. It is what the freak it is. But they putting on this charade on members of the guard race because they don't want the members of the guard race to realize what's really going on. And one of the main reasons this charade has been going on so long is because the guard race pineal gland is offline. You know what I mean? You got to go through a certain level of discipline to activate your pineal gland authentically, son. You know what I mean? People don't understand that when you go through those channels naturally to activate your pineal gland, what you are essentially doing is breaking curses. There have been the level of curses that's being played out, carried out, son, is bonkers. Bonkers, son. Bonkers. The whole culture, the cultures that they have, I'm gonna just focus on so-called black people. The carbonated beings culture is riddled with curses. The foundation of the culture is a curse. It is, it's like an arena of having people that's within that realm, within that space, to just constantly cast curses on each other and constantly tether the curse and constantly carry out the curse. Consistently, huh? Every day. They wake up to curse. They wake up looking for somebody to curse. Because they're cursed. Every day, son. Now, they don't go by, son. A so-called black man or a so-called black woman out here ain't cursing somebody, son. These females out here with these perm, wigs, and weaves, they curse. They curse. They got the mark of the beast on them, son. They curse. They running around in a space, all these different avenues, these territories on this planet. It's all different sectors of spells that's just being cast out. And they think everything is okay because society, well, I ain't gonna say society, the so-called black race accepted their woman to wear the crown of the beast. Crown of the beast, huh? Satanism. Those perm wigs and weaves, son, that's Satanism, son. But they programmed, the only way they were able to get that successfully done by way of the so-called black woman doing that all the damn time, they had to get her vibrating on an emotional frequency. She's not vibrating like a soul. She's vibrating like a spirit. She's vibrating like a demon. You know what I mean? They had to beat her down. They had to disconnect her from her. They had to disconnect her from her manifesting her true self, her reality, the soul. She manifested the lower version of her, and she will continue to manifest the lower version of her. You know what I mean? She will never make contact with who she really is. She will be a lost soul just dead in that body, son. A soul that's vibrating so low it don't even know it's in the body. All kinds of demons on her, son. And they all manipulating her by way of parasites. They think it's cool to turn up. They think it's cool to be emotional. You're not even in control of your own power. You got microscopic organisms known as parasites that's controlling you. Pineal gland offline. Pineal gland offline, bro. And the same thing goes for these dudes out here. These weak ass males, they advocate and they encourage the carbonated woman to put the crown of the beast on. They encourage her to wear high heels. High heels are satanic. I don't think I understand when I say that these curses and these spells is deeply rooted in the culture, son. How people live, son. It's all Satanism, bro. High heels is hind legs, son. Hind legs, son. That's how your demons walk. Your hind leg demons. Your Baphomet. Your Baal. You know what I mean? The hind leg demons. That's why high heels was created, son. And that's why the high heels, well, the first high heels was 6 inches from the ground. Because they represent you walking in the footsteps of the devil. Instead of you walking in the footsteps of the gods, you walking in the footsteps of the beast. But how do they program? How do they get you to do it? It's fashion. It make you look sexy. A play on the ego, which is the fourth version of the carbonated goddess. Now they got her exercising all kinds of satanic spells on herself and everybody that deal with her. Spells heavy out here, cuz. Heavy. You know what I mean? But they understand what it is, man. They know what they doing. God is just lost. They trust the beast. in the beast they trust. Crazy. But the pineal gland is a sense, man. It is a sense. And it's offline for hella people, son. A sense is not the sense. The sense of the pineal gland is offline for a lot of people, son. You're supposed to be running your senses through the pineal gland, son. That's one of the ways how you make logical decisions, real logical decisions. You run your senses through the pineal gland. You don't run it through emotions. You should be using the pineal gland as a buffer, son. To know how to move through the matrix. It is what it is, man. Look, like I say, man. I used to say vibrate high. Then I was off that wagon. Oh man, you gotta vibrate real. If you don't know what I'm talking about, buy your clone, son. Buy your clone, cuz. And that's okay if you're a clone, son. Because this realm is exactly where you're supposed to be at, son. You're supposed to be out here doing clone shit. You know what I mean? You're supposed to be out here doing clone shit. That's why you was downloaded into this space, man. You was downloaded into this hard drive just to be doing clone shit, bro. You know what I mean? But for the solar beings, I already know what it is, man. Yo, man, that's my quick little video right there, man. Snowman, just vibrate real. Pineal gland is a sense. Know that you are reality. You are the template of reality. You are a representative of reality. Gods are reality. I ain't talking about these fake gods in this matrix. I'm talking about real gods. They don't even call themselves gods, but I'm speaking a language. They are the ones who is reality, son. All this other shit out here is the illusion, son. They are the ones who are reality, son. Which is why the so-called, like the physics and like the laws that these dimensions were built on, it doesn't apply to the gods. Because these so-called laws that represent these dimensions, it's not even real. It's not a real law. It's like a program. You know what I mean? It's not real. The beings who created this, they know this. They don't need to have air to fly. See, one thing about so-called beasts, they keep focusing too much on air to fly. They don't even need magnetism to fly. They could defy all laws of physics. And something that I stated before. The technology that they release out to the masses, it doesn't allow them to defy physics. You know what I mean? Based on the patent. If you come out with a certain type of technology that defies the laws of physics, they wouldn't patent it. So that's letting you know by default all the technology that they release out there to the masses is technology to keep you within the matrix. Because in order for you to go beyond the matrix, you gotta be able to defy the laws of the physics. You gotta be able to defy the laws. You know what I mean? Laws don't subscribe to these laws, these fake laws. And now I'm not talking about these laws that man made. Don't run a red light and all that BS. I'm talking about the laws that built this dimension. The laws that this dimension was built on, son. You don't have to subscribe to those laws. You, the solar being, defies all laws. Not meaning that you're like some lawless being. Because that's how it's programmed in the matrix. If you defy laws, you're a criminal. You're a lawless being. You're lawless. Nah. Ain't got nothing to do with that. Ain't got nothing to do with no criminal. Ain't got nothing to do with being lawless. Ain't got nothing to do with that. That's not even a law. I'm beyond that. You know what I mean? That is a simulation that y'all clones is trapped in. And y'all would never see it because y'all pineal glands ain't online. And even if your pineal gland was online for you humans, let's play that game. Even if it was online for you humans, the energetic particles that you're made up of is forged light. It's not even real. Your energetic particles that make up y'all spirits is forged light. A spirit is a forged soul. You know what I mean? It's forged light. So even if your pineal gland is online, you're still not going to be able to see it for what it really is, because you, the being itself, is one with the matrix. You know what I mean? Only the souls will be able to see it for what it is. And then when we reveal it, the humans, they take it and then try to make it seem like they crack codes. Man, y'all motherfuckers ain't cracking shit, bro. Get the hell out of here. Niggas ain't cracking shit, B. They copying. Copying what we doing. As they should, because that's what they supposed to do, son. You know what I mean? That's what they was created for, son. To copy. But yo, man, I already know what it is, man. I'll get out of here. Quick little video right there. Focus on you, the soul, man. Focus on you, the soul, B. Man, so I've been eating for almost a half an hour. And I ain't nowhere finished, man. What the freak? Yo. I'm about to get up out of here, man. I don't even know what it is, man. One.